Thanks for joining me on episode 1195 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Roger Butts. I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to use prayer to take care of yourself is key. And one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mader.
See, the truth is we tend to have a natural tendency towards one or two of these. Most of us don't really think about using all four. In fact, oftentimes there's two or maybe even three of these that are a lot of work for us to actually get to and use and drag out of ourselves. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. In today's episode about impacting the world through stewarding your treasures, I talk with you about how each of the 4 DISC traits approaches money. I share how you can use these 4 approaches to balance your approach to your budget. And I also explain how this ebb and flow helps you get what you want with your money. As we talk about stewarding your treasures, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without costing yourself an extra dime? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show. If you enjoy the show when you're ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon. On Wednesday, I talked about DISC and how you can use those 4 characteristics to influence the way you deal with time each day. I talked about how you spend a certain percentage of your time in D mode, I mode, C mode, and S mode throughout the day. And you can do a similar idea when it comes to money. If you think about it, the way that the D tends to have an approach to anything, tends to be really result driven, tends to be focused on getting things done the fast way. And that can be something that comes up with your money as well. There are opportunities that come up that you need to get it done or do it now. And there's taking action, driving forward, making and looking at the big ideas and the big picture. These are important skills to have when it comes to your money. By the same token, the I, the people-oriented one, the idea of looking at other people and interacting with them and having fun. You need to include a certain amount of that in your budget as well. The S, the style blend that allows us to do things the traditional way, do things the way that works, look for peace and harmony and team building and relationship and communication. That's an important skill to how you approach your money. And then the C, the very analytical side, the getting it right side, the quite frankly money-driven accountant side is important as well. The idea is that you need to bring all 4 of these to bear to really deal with your money correctly, to deal with your money. So think about it. Are you able to bring all of these approaches to your money? Are you able to focus on getting things done? Are you able to have some fun? Are you able to do things in the slow and steady way that works and do the proven things? And are you able to get the details right and pay attention to the pennies? Do you spend, when you think about your money, do you spend at least 20% of that time and effort and energy towards generating income, towards getting things done? When you do that, that's the D thing. When you spend about 30% of the general population as an I, Now, that doesn't mean you spend 30% of your money or a third of your money on having fun. Again, that's going to come about. How much you spend in these areas is going to come about through that kind of analytical C side and the S side to some extent. But you do need to be spending some of your energy and time on rewarding yourself, on having milestones, on having goals that include fun. Looking at things like, what do I want to do? What's my why behind this? What's the end result? What do I get out of it? Is important. If all you're doing is getting out of debt just for the sake of getting out of debt, it's a lot harder than when you're getting out of debt and have a real reason behind it, have a goal behind it, have something that you're dreaming about behind it. When you're able to laugh and smile and have fun even while you're doing it. And then the S trait. Do you spend 35% of your energy when it comes to your money doing the stuff that really just works? Doing the traditional things, doing the boring thing that is the status quo, but it gets the results that you need. This isn't the flashy thing. This isn't going out and buying Tesla stock before it was worth a lot. This isn't about day trading or doing anything. It's the get rich quick modes. No, this is about slow and steady wins the race. This is about creating harmony, looking for things that aren't sexy, but they work. And then 25% of your time on the strategy, on the details, on getting it right, on making sure that you've actually got it down to a science. You understand how to set your budget and you know how to track, and you're not spending huge amounts of time and energy on it, but you're able to get the details right instead. See, the truth is we tend to have a natural tendency towards one or two of these. Most of us don't really think about using all four. In fact, oftentimes there's two or maybe even three of these that are a lot of work for us to actually get to and use and drag out of ourselves. But being aware of it, recognizing that all of these characteristics have strength, allows us to bring them all to bear. And if you're in a relationship, if you've got a spouse, usually your spouse has some natural tendencies towards some of these that maybe you don't. That old adage of opposites attract has some truth to it. And so that means that you both have strengths, but you also have to learn to communicate about those strengths so that you can work together and drive forward together and get to where you want to go together, not pushing each other apart. If you think about this in a business situation, when you're assembling a team, you want to bring all of these skills. So it applies at all different levels when it comes to the financial picture. You want to make sure that you've brought all four traits to bear. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of treasures, you can sign up for our treasures tips by going to inspiredstewardship.com/treasures or text in the US 44222 treasures tips. And we'll send you 5 weeks of our best tips on stewarding your treasures. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.